I speak at the Agape International Spiritual Center. Michael Bernard Beckwith is the director and founder. And we had a woman that came recently, and she said that she used to come to Agape many years ago. And when she first came to Agape many years ago, she was on drugs, she was a drug dealer, and she was a prostitute. And she was so taken aback at how much people loved her up. Like, they loved her anyway. And now she teaches meditation and yoga. She lives a very clean life. And she said to Reverend Michael, she said, Agape loved me into wholeness. Agape loved me into wholeness. We get to love ourselves into wholeness. We get to love our children into wholeness. They're already whole, and we get to hold wholeness for them. We get to know in our mind's eye their perfection. So this thing that they're like a seedling and they're growing into something, and we hold an image that's this big, knowing their genius, knowing their brilliance, so they have something to flower into. Love ourselves into wholeness, love others into wholeness. Love every single human being that has been through everything into wholeness.
Welcome to Empowered Kids TV. This is the place you come where we share with you the people and the ideas and the support to take the actions you need to create the family of your dreams. Today's guest is an author, speaker, and personal coach who holds degrees in a wide range of healing modalities, including psychology and Neuro Linguistic Programming. As a mom, coach, teacher, and friend, our guest plays full out. Her openness, her courage, and willingness to be vulnerable makes her a powerful advocate for love and light. As a speaker, she's dynamic and inspirational, hitting home with some inconvenient truths that move you beyond the aha moment to take those inspired actions. Her work speaks volumes and has been featured on the Lifetime television channel, touched clients from diverse backgrounds, including Fortune 500 executives, Academy Award winners, and several New York Times best-selling authors. Please help me to welcome a member of the Executive Leadership Board of the Agape International Spiritual Center, who shares her spiritual growth with healing and great humor and lightheartedness, and embraces the mantra, give as you go, in all that she does. Reverend Julie Moret. Reverend Julie, I want to say thank you again for joining us on Empowered Kids TV.
Oh, my pleasure.
Well, as I said before, we could talk about a whole host of topics because your work is amazing and the depth that you can take us to is inspirational. But today I really wanted to focus on forgiveness because I think the way your work has impacted my life and what I've been able to share with my family on forgiveness is mind-blowing. So I wanted us to dive deep into forgiveness today. And I think a good place to start would be to get your take on what you think forgiveness really is.
Okay. There's a great quote by Max Lucado that says, forgiveness is like going to open up a door and unlock and set somebody free and finding out that you were the prisoner. You know? Like, I so resonate with that. And forgiveness is a really powerful topic for even me personally to speak on because I spent a lot of time in unforgiveness.
Yes.
And I really thought that the way that I would experience real forgiveness in my life was after somebody had paid. Like, then I can let it go.
Yes.
And what I've come to embrace is that there comes a point, it's like the universe holds on to nothing. There comes a point where we must turn ourselves away from the situation. We must, and it's a conscious choice. It's like, I can give an example. So when something happens, let me back up. Okay, what is forgiveness? Let's start there. What is forgiveness? What forgiveness is not, it is not letting anybody off the hook. It's not setting somebody free. It's not about anyone or anything else. Forgiveness is about opening the channels back up. When we live in a place where there's a lack of forgiveness, every time we hold on, it creates constriction. It's like putting rubber bands or ropes, tying them all around the body. It's tightness, it's constriction, there's withholding. So forgiveness is just cutting all that off. It's about allowing freedom. It's about allowing a free flow to return in our energy and our consciousness and our thoughts. Michael Bernard Beckwith, my teacher, says, you know, when there's a lack of forgiveness, you're holding yourself hostage. Setting yourself free is really what forgiveness is about. It's about the self.
And that's so powerful for me, because I think when we think about why we should practice forgiveness, the thing that really holds us back is that person they haven't said sorry yet.
Yes.
They haven't gotten to the place of recognizing just how much they've hurt me.
Right.
And even when it's not someone close to you, if it's someone that you've met once in life and you may probably never meet again, you still want the justice system to make sure they've done right by you. And that person somehow pays without really recognizing that forgiveness has nothing to do with them, or even how they think or feel about the situation, but really it's about finding the freedom from the pain for yourself.
Yeah, and you know what's beautiful about that is that when you allow yourself to experience forgiveness, it opens you up to more creativity so that you can find more powerful, effective ways to get the change that you want. I had a client many years ago. It's a long story. I'm going to think about how to condense it. She came to me. She had an illness. Every single month at the time of her menstrual cycle, she was going into the hospital because of such extreme pain. And so we started doing work, hypnosis, Neuro Linguistic Programming, prayer work. And one day it popped for her. And she realized she was from a country in the Middle East. And she had fled because of persecution against women and herself and her sisters and her family. She got herself to freedom, but she had this guilt inside that she had left so many women behind who were still suffering. And so what happened for her is that unconsciously she set up a monthly reminder to punish herself, right? So she was in a lack of forgiveness towards herself. But as soon as she had that aha moment, she was able to take a breath. She was able to forgive herself. She was young. She ran away. She took care of herself. She did what she had to do. She was able to come to peace with that. But then the beauty is, because she wasn't spending all her time suffering and going in and out of hospitals and being on all kinds of medications, she was able to get off all the medications. She wasn't spending her time in hospitals. Her creativity started to flow. She's a musician. She started writing songs. She started writing poetry. She started using that voice to talk about the horrendous things occurring in her homeland. She became this enormously successful woman, and her voice changed the lives and impacted thousands and thousands and thousands of people.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
But it unlocks something.
It does. And that story really resonates with me, because I think there are times when it's difficult to forgive others, but I think it's even more difficult at times to turn that forgiveness on ourselves.
Yes.
And I think it's easy to make an excuse for yourself of why you don't need to spend the time doing the forgiveness work for yourself. You can come up with a whole host of excuses. And I think there are times when I might try to get to the point of understanding. Okay, I can see why I did that. This was happening in my life, and I can see what impacted my judgment and why I acted that way. But to get to the point of feeling like I've released myself from blame or from shame, I find that sometimes much more difficult than it is to forgive someone else. Do you find that in your own practice or even with other clients?
You know, I think what happens when it's time to practice forgiveness on ourselves, the part about that sort of stinks is it means that we have to admit that to our ego, and our ego really, like, I want to be so perfect. I'm Reverend Julie. Like, I'm perfect. And it's like, oh, really? Oh, I gotta mess that one up. So it's a blow to the ego, but also when we spend our time focused on somebody else, it means we're a victim. And if we're a victim, then we're powerless to do anything. So we don't have to take responsibility. We can just spend our lives. I spent years thinking like, well, I really would be successful if they hadn't screwed up. You know, I would be more prosperous if they hadn't messed me up. I would be more this, I'd be more that. I don't have to take, I would be in better shape. I like, you know, people think about it a lot. Like I lose the weight if it wasn't because of them, right? But then what happens was when you have to take it on yourself, it's like, oh, I'm not a victim. I'm responsible for my own life. And that doesn't mean I'm responsible if somebody has harmed me. It doesn't mean I'm responsible for them harming me. It means I'm responsible for how I handle the situation. And I've been able to learn about forgiveness from a lot of angles because before I did the work that I'm doing now as a speaker and a writer, I had a private coaching practice for many years. And I had a client once and my worst happened. She was raped. And she went through and she told me all the situation. But what she said was that in the moment that it was occurring, she told herself, this person is going to have me for a moment, but they will not have me for the rest of their life, the rest of my life. And so I can't wrap my brain around that. But what I find is that we really are given what we can handle. And she was given a situation that she was able to find a way to decide in the moment, I'm going to be okay. I'm going to get over this. And I'm not going to let this ruin my life. So there's something that we get to do when it comes to self-forgiveness. Whether we have been harmed by another or whether we harmed ourselves, it's about choosing to say, the universe holds on to nothing. The universe holds on to nothing. So I'm gonna do what I can. I'm gonna make amends where I need to, and I am going to move forward and be a contributor in this world.
That's a powerful story. I think in my own spiritual journey, where I've gotten to why forgiveness is really important is because I think I now really recognize myself as a vessel. And this is very new and very different to how I grew up. And I think I see myself as a vessel for all that God is, or source, or consciousness, or whatever your beliefs are. And I think all that God is love. And when I look at myself as a vessel, I realize that the capacity for love to flow through me really depends on what else I've got stored inside. So when I hold on to all of the negative stuff, I have less capacity to allow that love to flow through me. So then I show up in frustration, and I show up as anger, and I show up as unforgiveness and judgment. But when I can really do the work to let those things go, that's when I have a greater capacity to show up for love. And I do it differently in different relationships. With my kids, I think that's probably where I'm furthest along. In some of my intimate relationships, or my relationships with my parents and my brother, sometimes I'm not that skilled. That's where I still have to practice a lot of letting go of some of the old hurt so that I can let the light shine through. So I wanted to kind of dive into, if we had to cultivate a habit of forgiveness in our lives, where would we start?
Okay. One thing I wanted to touch on, you said you spoke about love, and the actual quality associated with forgiveness is love. So withholding of forgiveness is a withholding of love.
Yeah.
And when we practice forgiveness, we open up the channels for love.
Yes.
And so I can give you an example. Forgiveness is not a one and done thing, unfortunately. It's not like, oh, I forgave, it's over, right? It's daily hygiene. It's daily hygiene. It's spiritual workout. It's every day. And I'll give you a simple example of it. I went to get dressed this morning, and for some reason, this necklace that I'm wearing called out to me to wear it. I haven't worn it in many, many years. The person that gave it to me, we're on good terms now, but we've had a lot of stuff in our life, back and forth. And so for some reason, I was moved to wear this necklace today. And so there's a prayer that I say when I'm going to, when I want to make sure things are clean and clear with somebody. It's a forgiveness prayer. And so I got that person in my mind's eye, and I was holding on to the necklace, and I said, I forgive you for everything you did and did not do. And I forgive myself for everything I did and did not do. May there be peace and only peace between us.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And that's daily hygiene. So I'd love to take a moment and invite those that are listening, become aware of any situation with any person that you know it would be helpful to have a little forgiveness with right now. And just get that person in your mind's eye or situation. And then repeat this. You can say it inside yourself. You can say it out loud. And it is, please forgive me for all the things I did and did not do. Please forgive me for all the things I did and did not do. And I forgive you for all the things you did and did not do. And I forgive you for all the things you did and did not do. May there be peace and only peace between us. So that was a simple thing, and I just did that in 30 seconds this morning. Even though things are clear and clean between myself and this person, I thought, daily hygiene. Let me just keep that going, right? Because it's easy to slip back. I had a situation just a couple weeks ago. I was moving my office, and as I was doing so, I was going through correspondence letters that I've had from many years ago. And I found a couple of letters from people that I had really done me wrong. And I had forgiven them, and we're on really good terms right now. But I saw these letters, and I was like, oh, like I wanted a return policy on my forgiveness. I want to take it back. I'm going to take back on that one, because I was like, I have the evidence right here. I should not forgive them. I need to reverse that, even though we're good now. And that's where, again, it's like there's something in us that must cause ourselves to turn away from whatever the mistake was, whatever the old situation is, because it's easy to just feed on it like a parasite over and over again. So it's constantly about choosing love, choosing to move forward. A lack of forgiveness is like trying to drive straight ahead while looking through the rearview mirror. It's like I'm trying to go ahead,
but I keep looking back.
Yeah. So to answer your question about a daily practice, it's things like that where so many things. Like I do a daily chakra clearing where I clear my different energy centers just to make sure everything's clean and clear and open. So that's not specifically attached to any person or situation. It's daily hygiene, just making sure my energy centers are clean and clear. It's about a daily practice would be feeling your feelings, doing like a feelings check-in. How am I feeling right now? And this is great to do with kids.
Yeah.
How are you feeling? What are you feeling right now? Do you feel happy or sad? Are you feeling angry? Like what's the feeling right now? And then you say like, and where is that feeling? Does that feeling live inside your body? Like where's that feeling? Sometimes it's in the tummy, sometimes it's in the heart, sometimes it's the head. Where's that feeling? And what happens is when we teach our children and when we teach ourselves first to start feeling our emotions and to notice where they physically lodge in the body. Emotions are fluid, so as we feel them, they move on, right? But that would be a first step, is to notice what you're feeling. And then there's a practice I do. It's with a balloon, and if we have like a few minutes, I could guide people through that if you're ready.
Yeah, we are.
Okay. So just taking a breath. And if you're listening to this while driving, I would say maybe pause it, listen another time, or you can just listen but don't go through the motions right now. Wait till if you can pull over, if you can have some quiet moments, that's when to do this, not while driving or operating machinery like a tractor. That's what it says on my CDs. That's my disclaimer. So just be able to be present and relaxed. Take a couple full deep breaths. And then take a moment and become aware of any situation or circumstance about which you know it would be good, helpful, useful to practice some forgiveness around it. So become aware in this moment of any situation or circumstance that you know it would be a really good idea for you to practice some forgiveness. And I'd like you to imagine, to see, to sense, to visualize as though you could take that whole thing, that whole situation that you're ready to practice some forgiveness around. Imagine you could take the whole thing and then like shove it right up into a great big balloon, a helium balloon, okay? Notice the color, the shape, the size of the helium balloon. Imagine it, see it, sense it, visualize it, pretend it. And then imagine you could take any of the events, circumstances that led up to that situation that you want to practice some forgiveness around, and shove all that stuff up in the balloon too. And then any of the circumstances, events, or experiences that resulted because of that situation you're ready to practice some forgiveness around. Take all that, put all that up in the helium balloon, and then you notice, just get that helium balloon in your mind's eye, the color, the shape, the size of it, filled with all that stuff you're ready to practice some forgiveness around. And you're ready to practice some forgiveness around it because you're ready to have some freedom. You're ready to have some flow. You're ready for some health. You're ready for some joy. You're ready for some peace. You're ready for some prosperity. And then notice that that helium balloon is tied tightly shut by a thin thread. And the thin thread is, of course, anchored straight into your solar plexus, the point of personal power. The solar plexus is a couple of inches above the belly button, and it's a couple of inches below the rib cage. That's our point of personal power, our sense of self, our place in the world. And you notice that string is just anchored right in there. So I'd like you to imagine, see, sense, visualize, pretend that you could reach over, pick up these super sharp scissors conveniently located nearby, and just clip the string. And whoosh, up goes the balloon. And as you watch that balloon go higher and higher up into the sky, let's be clear again. We are not talking about, by cutting that string, you're not letting anybody off the hook. You're just setting yourself free. You're just setting yourself free now. Feel what that feels like. And watch that balloon go up higher, because I want to be clear. Whatever lessons are yours to get in this lifetime, whatever lessons are mine to get in this lifetime, whatever lessons are anybody's to get in this lifetime, they will find you. They will find me. They will find them. We live in a universe that operates very volitionally with purpose. So by cutting that string, nobody's getting off the hook. Whatever they need to learn or grow through, it will find them, right? You're just giving yourself a chance to set your own self free now. So you watch that balloon go up higher and higher and higher up into the sky. It gets smaller and smaller. It goes up above the trees and the buildings, up to the clouds, up, till it's the size of a pinprick, and out, gone. Now let's return back to yourself. Take a full, deep, easy breath. And I'd like you to imagine, to see, to sense, to visualize, to pretend that you could start to pull that string out of your solar plexus, that string that used to be connected to the balloon. And as you pull it out, it's kind of like when you clean out a clogged sink, all that gunk, all the scum, all the sludge that gets caked on in there. It's like all that kind of stuff is what comes out. This is the stuff that creates disease. And I'm not saying dis-ease, I'm not making it cute. I'm saying this is the stuff that causes cancer. This is the stuff that causes all kinds of physical disease in the body. And so we want to just imagine, see, sense, visualize, pretend. Your brain cannot discern the difference between a real event, an actual event, or an imagined one. So as you imagine yourself pulling all this garbage that was connected to that old event or any event connected to that event about which you're ready to practice forgiveness, imagine pulling all this stuff out. Imagine you could plop it right down on the palm of your hand. To me, it's just like this big, thick sludge, You could take your other hand and kind of imagine your etheric hand, your energetic hand, scooping around inside the body, getting any residue, any last bits of that stuff that had been connected onto that string or connected to that old event. And then as a bonus round, if you have any areas in your body that you have chronic aches or pains or discomfort, you could just scoop around there, plop it down on the hand also. And then just imagine that you can hold that up in the air and allow the omnipresent, present always, healing vortex, the vortex of God, of life force, of source, of nature, that power that powers up great big hurricanes and tidal waves and floods and fires, the force, the life force of the universe, this power of the universe that is omnipresent, that is everywhere, just swoops it up, carries it way out, up above, takes it far out over to the closest ocean, dumps it in the ocean. The ocean waves are like a washing machine, washing, rinsing, in the salty, cleansing waters. The sun evaporates it up. The rain precipitates it down, evaporate, precipitate, evaporate, precipitate, evaporate, precipitate, evaporate, precipitate, until that old stuff is returned to what it always was, pure, usable source energy. Now that's taken care of. So let's go back to you. Imagine, see, sense, visualize, pretend as though there's a gentle spring shower. And I know it's hot where you are, Nicole, so we'll make it a nice, cool spring shower, just raining down inside of you, cleansing, cooling, clearing, releasing any other big connected event or any other event, just washing it all away, releasing, cleansing, clearing. And then the last step, imagine, see, sense, visualize, pretend as though there's a beautiful crystal goblet right next to you. And it's filled with this rose-colored healing energy, just gorgeous healing energy. And imagine you could just put the mouth of that goblet up against your solar plexus, kind of like a gas tank, and just pour it in your solar plexus, filling up that whole area in your belly, your throat and your head, just allowing your whole body to be filled to the brim with this healing love energy. That's the energy of forgiveness. Forgiveness is allowing love, allowing this love energy to move through the body. This love energy opens up all the gates, all the channels, all the pathways, all the vortices, all the meridians for ease and grace and flow and prosperity and creativity and joy and love and unexpected good coming from unexpected places, hope and possibility and joy and freedom, allowing your whole body to be rinsed with this cleansing, clearing energy. And take a couple of moments and breathe that in. And just feeling what that feels like. That's daily hygiene. You can easily come back into this space, into this room. It's an easy daily cleansing. You can learn to do this very quickly. So, sometimes there's a situation and it's easy. You can get in your head and think it through and analyze why things happened. And sometimes, or at some point, it's time to just let it go now, and be free and choose freedom. And that's a great one. You could do that. You could do that with your kids. What's bothering you? Put it in a balloon.
I love that exercise, Reverend Julie. Thank you so much for doing it with us. I've been doing that exercise every day for the last week. And each time I have the same experience. And just for all of you, as Reverend Julie has an amazing CD with that exercise, and I'll leave a link to that CD down below so that you can all have it and try it for your daily hygiene. But when I do that exercise, and it's happened to me again, so I had tears again each time, two things happen. One, without meaning to or without having the intention to, somehow I let go of the judgment. And I can see the other person differently. I see the other person through eyes of understanding, not eyes of you meant to do me wrong. You knew exactly what you were about and you were trying to hurt me. But instead, it's softer eyes. It's eyes of seeing that person with their own baggage and their own pain and really just acting in the best way that they could in that moment with everything that they're dealing with. And the second thing is, I no longer see myself as the victim. I don't see myself as the person that was wronged, but now I can see myself from a different standpoint, from a place of power, and it feels better to watch the other person through eyes that are not judging, but eyes that are moving to love. So that's been really powerful for me every day this week. So thank you very, very much. It's going to be part of my hygiene for a long time.
Yes, of course. There's another thing that I've learned recently about about a year ago, I spent some time in a Taoist temple, and they brought up this phrase, filial piety. I never really understood it before, but it clicked for me. And what they spoke about with filial piety is having honor, expressing honor, appreciation, gratitude, forgiveness, even love for our parents. And no matter what, it's like a blanket statement, because at the bottom line, they gave you life, right? And that can be really hard for some people to hear, because, you know, we've had so many different kinds of experiences with our parents, and so many of us are justified to be withholding. But there's something about that phrase. It was like a law. Filial piety means that I am bound to honor, respect those beings that brought me into this world, period. And for some reason, that really did something for me when I heard it. And so while I'm on a good terms with my parents right now as it is, there's like this bar that's set. So even when something happens, it's kind of like it's like I brush my teeth every morning. I practice filial piety. I have honor, I have respect, I have forgiveness from things from the past, and it's a bar. So that's another way. I know there's somebody listening that it'll click for them also, and that could be really helpful. It's just a bar. They gave me life. I got a sperm and an egg. I'm here. I'm having a physical body. And so it's like, and I don't mean to, you know, I apologize if that sounds crude, but, you know, we've had such histories with our parents, all of us. And it's so easy to get hooked and locked and let decades pass with holding on to stuff. And so there was something that really set me free about that, about saying, you know what? It just is what it is. Even stuff that still is, you know, even the stuff that still isn't exactly as I would like it, I have a bar, I have a certain standard that I will not drop below. So I wanted to share that because I'm trusting that that'll click for somebody.
That's beautiful. I wanted to touch, before we did the forgiveness exercise, we talked about honoring the emotions within, finding where it was. And I really wanted to touch a bit about anger. Because I think sometimes in my past, I had to learn to let go of the pain beneath the anger, so that I can kind of shift the anger in order to really lean into forgiveness practice. Because, and I don't know if you have a process of just honoring that emotion of anger and allowing it to do its work and invite you to look within. But I think for me, if I try to dismiss the fact that I'm angry and jump into forgiveness, there's a part of me that says, you haven't seen me. And so I just wanted to, especially when it comes to kids, how do we guide them in terms of honoring that anger before they get into forgiveness practice?
Yes, I just had that 2 days ago. I was at an event for my husband's work, and my son was with me, and my son got really mad about something, and I'm embarrassed because we're around all these people and we're in a work environment, and my son was furious. And all I wanted to do, like my old programming, you know, what I grew up with is you get in that car right now. You know, like I needed him to get out of the place that we were in. Like, you're embarrassing me, get in the car. But he wasn't moving. He was in something. He was furious. He hadn't been heard. He didn't want to do what we were doing. And so he looked at me, and I saw the anger, like his body was shaking, and he said, I just need a minute. And in my mind, I'm thinking, you know, there are people watching, blah, 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 all this stuff. But it clicked for me, and I thought, wow, it makes me want to cry just thinking about this, to respect our children this much. And I said, yeah, you need a minute. So go take a minute, and when you're ready, let's come back and we'll continue. And so he went away for 20 minutes. He was sitting out in the front of the building. I'm sitting inside the building for 20 minutes. I have a group of people that we're all waiting on him. The car's waiting. Everybody's waiting. but it felt like, even though for my ego it was embarrassing, I thought, what is this teaching him about honoring his emotions, about not faking it, about not caring what other people think? And you know what? It took him 20 minutes, and he finally, then he started texting me on his watch. So then we had like another 5 minutes of negotiations and going back and forth on his watch. And then he walked in, and we sort of like checked each other out to see how we were. And then within another couple of minutes, he just gave me a great big hug, and the anger had turned to sadness. We had gone away for a week for a business trip for my husband. My kid knew that my husband was going to be working, but he was sad because he hadn't spent time with his dad. And that's what it really was. So anger, there are a lot of things we can do. Like sometimes it really is hitting a pillow as hard as you can. For me, it's going out for a walk or a run. Like I got to move. If I physically work out, if my husband gets mad at something, I'll tell him, I'm happy to speak with you. Go to the gym first. Go because he's a different person when he comes back. I don't want to talk to him before if he hasn't gone to the gym. So yes, there's a place for moving the energy, and then there's also a place for feeling the feeling. So if I say like, I'm furious, I'm really angry. And where's that anger inside of my body? And then I keep breathing, and then all of a sudden like the tears will probably well up, and it's like, I'm really sad because there's something sitting underneath anger. Yes. So we can't rush it. We can't go from anger to forgiveness. That's why I say take time, journal it out, go for a walk, give yourself a moment. Feel the feeling. I feel angry. Feel where it feels in the body. What's it like? What does it remind me of? There's a practice I do. I think there's one of my CDs has something called body talk in it. And it's where you begin to talk with that feeling that lives inside of the body. And you ask if it has a size, a shape, a color to it, what it looks like, who it reminds you of. Sometimes that anger, that feeling in the body reminds you of somebody you know. Could be mom, could be dad, could be a sibling, could be a boss, could be, and then you start to have a dialogue with it. Like, what do you need? What do you need? And then I lead into a negotiation. In order for you to transmute yourself back into pure energy, healthy energy in my body, what do you need from me? I need you to slow down. I need you to take a break. I need you to not be rushing so much. I need you to hear me. I need you to pay attention. Okay, and specifically, what would that look like? I'm just going through an example of mine. I want you to dance. Like, I want you to dance. I keep telling you, just dance. You love to dance. You never dance. And I'm like, well, I'm too busy. I've got things on my plate. I've got, I'm doing stuff. I need you to dance. Okay, well, how would it work for you if I just go in my room, I turn on one song, turn the lights off, and I dance? Is that enough? Yes, that's enough. That's all I need. So to begin to negotiate with yourself, that's huge. And I just went through like, a real one that I had, right?
Dancing is my release as well. I put the headphones on and I sing really loudly. I'm sorry for the neighbors, but it gives me.
Yes. It's about taking care of ourselves. Yes. I asked my son last night, I said to him, I'm going to do an interview tomorrow about forgiveness. Do you think forgiveness is important? And he said to me, that's a really good question. And he thought about it for a minute, and then he said, yes. And I said, why? And he said, well, because when you forgive, it makes you clean. Wow. Makes you clean. And he says, yeah, because, when you forgive, then it's like, when I forgive somebody, it's like, I've done everything I can do. Well, actually what he said is, when you've done something wrong, he said this to me, when you've done something wrong, I'll forgive you. And then it means I've done everything I can do. The rest is on you. I was like, okay. All right then.
So that brings me to the question of creating a practice for families. That's such a beautiful conversation to have with your son. A lot of times when we're talking about forgiveness for our kids, it's usually we've done something to rub them the wrong way. So within that parent-child dynamic, how can we begin to teach our kids about forgiveness when sometimes we're the ones they need to forgive?
I believe that we teach our children nothing by our words, by our mouth. I don't think, I mean, if I had a dime for every pearl of wisdom that has come out of my mouth to my kids, we teach our kids nothing through our mouth. We teach it through our actions. And so it's about creating a culture of forgiveness. And in my household, when I screw up, it may take a minute, but I apologize right to my child. I apologize right to my husband. And my child has seen this, has experienced this, has witnessed this since birth. When my husband and I get into an argument or we have a disagreement, we take the time we need. It's very short now. And then one of us loops back pretty darn quick and apologizes. And usually we're aware of what was really going on. And we have these conversations right in front of our child. And sometimes we'll have had a disagreement in another room and he doesn't even know about it. And we'll look at each other again and I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. So we got back from our week away. I had just spent a week around lots and lots of people, plus taking care of my child, and I hadn't had any time to myself. So when we finally got back in town, I was agitated, and we were like a little bickery with each other. And my son heard that, and then I came back into the room within 10 minutes, and I said, you know what? I'm really sorry. I'm somebody that needs time to myself, and I haven't had any time to myself in a week. And that's what's going on for me. I just need like some time. So my son witnesses this, yes. And we create a culture of forgiveness.
So I'm definitely on the same page in terms of apologizing. And for someone who started off, I started my parenting journey in a very disconnected place, very, very disconnected. And as I learned more about what connection was and how it could show up for my family, I knew I had to start by saying I'm sorry. And I had to really show my kids that all the things that I had done, and to put that in perspective, I was very much a super nanny mom. I followed super nanny's principles to the T. I watched every show. I took notes. And I did it thinking I was, like every parent, doing the best for my kids.
Right.
And the lasting memory they have, my youngest son was 2 the last time I put him in the naughty corner. And it still makes me very emotional because his memory at 9 years on is that I left him sitting in our hallway for the entire night. Now, he would have sat there for 2 minutes, but that's not what it felt like to him. And I think what has allowed him to be able to heal from that pain is that I was able to come and say, I'm sorry. I should never have done that. I didn't know better, and I would never, ever do it again. And that really started our healing process. What we didn't have a practice of is asking for forgiveness. So is that something that you would recommend I add to my practice? Because I'm good at saying sorry now. I say sorry on a daily basis. But I've never really asked for forgiveness.
You know, for me, I think saying I'm sorry only matters when it has legs. Because there's some people that say sorry, 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 sorry. Every day they're sorry, 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 but they're doing the same things over and over and over again.
Yes.
Sorry becomes meaningless.
Yes.
So sorry only matters to me if it has legs and actions behind it. Asking forgiveness is beautiful because it opens up a dialogue. So, you know, if you're going to open up that kettle of worms, you got to be prepared for what the answer is, because it might be no.
Yeah.
And then that opens up the negotiation of what do you need in order to be able for us to move forward? What would work for you? What would make a difference? You know? And that's really powerful for kids more and more, to ask them to check in with them, because it shouldn't be like that. Maybe it doesn't feel good to just have it be like, oh, I'm sorry. Now we get to move on, you know?
Yeah. No.
Right? I think that's a beautiful thing that you're doing by asking for forgiveness and then saying, is there anything you're needing now? Is there anything that would help with this?
My kids are definitely not the ones to let me off the hook easily. There are times, and you're very right. Like, I think the biggest thing that we have between us is if I don't take the time for myself, then I become a snappy mom and I'm irritable. And that's the space where my kids really hold me accountable. And if I recognize that I'm snapping and I apologize, my son will remind me of the last time I apologized for snapping. and he'll say, you need to do better because you said the last time that you would take better care of yourself so you wouldn't snap, and now you're snapping. So what do you need to do differently? And I think the dialogue really happens in a way where they feel comfortable now to hold me accountable because I've given them the respect by saying, I'm sorry, and this is what I would do differently next time, as opposed to saying, I'm the mom, and if I snapped, it was because you weren't listening.
Yes, that's so in my bones. Like, all I want to do is say, because I said so.
Yeah.
Right? Because I'm the mom.
I'm the mom.
Right? Get in the car. But then there's something that happens when you let them know I'm snappy because I didn't take time to myself or whatever it is. And then when you are taking time for yourself and they say, I need you now, I need you. And you say, but I'm doing self-care. I'm taking care of myself. I need this moment. You're modeling that. Yeah. So I just experienced that in the middle of my husband's work thing where my son says, I just need a minute.
Yes.
So he went off and he did a me. He did me on me. And so, but how incredible is that for him at a young age to learn, when I get overloaded, I need to go find a sit spot and I need to breathe.
Yes.
Could you imagine? I learned that as an adult.
Exactly.
As a kid.
Yeah, that's a gift. I have a practice of mindfulness. We do some meditation and some yoga with my kids at night, just before we go to bed, because it's still, while they're getting older and my kids are moving into the teenage years, it's still our richest connection time within the day. And so we cherish it. Would that be the time of the day that you would probably suggest we add a forgiveness practice if we were doing one as a family?
Yeah, I think that's beautiful. It's like hygiene. It's like brushing your teeth. So you don't go to bed with baggage. You don't go to bed with, candy in your teeth. You go to bed clean. Like, is there anything I want to let go of from the day? And it doesn't have to be, it should not be heady or intellectual. It can be like that thing that happened with Billy or that thing that happened over here that I didn't like. I'm just going to take it and dump it. I'm going to just chuck it in the garbage can. Okay. And then I'm going to imagine like my whole body clean, like a bubble bath, wash, clean, clear. I mean, they're older than that age, it sounds like, but whatever it is that would work for them, because really it's about moving energy. Mm-hmm. And so, with kids especially, it's about just like taking it, asking if it has a message. You can ask it, like, whatever it is you're letting go of, is there any last message I need to get? Is there anything of benefit? Because things only stick around because they have a message. So what's your message for me? What do you want me to know? Got it. So now that I have this message, are you willing to leave and return to pure source energy? That kind of thing. But you can make it as fun as you want or creative as you want.
I love it. Do you think there's some things in our lives that are just too big for us to forgive?
No. And I can say that with a lot of confidence because I was given the honor and the privilege of working one-on-one counseling people for several years. And it seems that I drew to myself people who had been through the most horrific life experiences. Mm. Because I probably, had I not had that experience, I probably would have been like, because if that happens, that's definitely like, you don't include that in forgiveness. No, it all goes in, because forgiveness is never about the other person. It's about reclaiming your energy and your creativity. If you want more money, if you want more health, if you want more love, if you want more joy, if you want more flow, forgive. And then in your forgiveness, that creates a way for maybe something new. There's I'll give you a perfect example. I speak at the Agape International Spiritual Center. Michael Bernard Beckwith is the director and founder. And we had a woman that came recently, and she said that she used to come to Agape many years ago. And when she first came to Agape many years ago, she was on drugs. She was a drug dealer, and she was a prostitute. And she was so taken aback at how much people loved her up. Like, they loved her anyway. And now she teaches meditation and yoga. She lives a very clean life. And she said to Reverend Michael, she said, Agape loved me into wholeness. Agape loved me into wholeness. We get to love ourselves into wholeness. We get to love our children into wholeness. They're already whole, and we get to hold wholeness for them. We get to know in our mind's eye their perfection. So this thing that they're like a seedling and they're growing into something, and we hold an image that's this big, knowing their genius, knowing their brilliance, so they have something to flower into. Love ourselves into wholeness, love others into wholeness. Love every single human being that has been through everything into wholeness.
That's a perfect place for us to end. I absolutely love that. I thank you so much, Reverend Julie, for joining us today. This was, for me, a very powerful topic. The exercise is a powerful one that I will encourage all of you to add to their daily practice. Again, I will leave the link to your CD below so everyone can get it. Before we leave, tell all our viewers where they can find you online.
Oh, you can find me Julie Moret, MORET.com, juliemoret.com, or on Instagram. I think it's Rev Julie Moret, Facebook, Twitter, all those things, Rev Julie Moret, MORET. And I'd love to have you join me.
Perfect. And one last question. What would it mean to you to live an empowered life?
Do you want to know something? I'm living an empowered life.
You can see.
I really am. And what that means to me is it means I feel comfortable in my skin. It took me a very long time to be able to say that. And a lot of it is due to being a student of Michael Bernard Beckwith's and being at Agape. I have a place that loved me into my wholeness. And so I would encourage everybody listening, find your tribe, find those people around, that have you, that understand you, that can accept you. I'm partial to Agape, and we stream to over 190 countries and territories in the world, but find that place that can really hold you. And what it means to me to live an empowered life means I'm using my voice, and I'm using it for good. And it's becoming louder and clearer. That's exciting to me.
It's exciting. It's beautiful. Thank you so much for joining and sharing with us today, Reverend Julie.
My honor. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Empowered Kids TV. We loved having you with us. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe and hit that bell icon so that you'll be notified of our next episode. And I have 2 favors to ask of you. The first is, if you found value in this interview, be sure to share it with your family and friends so that we can continue to uplift families all across the globe. And the second is join in on the conversation. We love hearing from you, reading your comments, and just watching how many of you like the videos and share your aha moments. And remember, Empowers, as we always say at the village, you're just one connection away. Until next time, with love and gratitude.